I would just say that foundationally, nature, getting outside, spending time with people you care about, that's always been the story up here. But as people's tastes have evolved and what they're interested in doing evolved, the Poconos has evolved with that.
A legacy of family-run hospitality in the Poconos. Welcome to Pocono Mountains Podcast, everyone. I'm your host, Jim Hamill. This is the first episode of Season 6. It's been the better part of a century that Mountain Springs Lake Resort has been woven into the landscape here. Generations of the Rader family have been at the helm, and now Bill Rader has certainly stayed rooted in nature, hospitality, and has been committed to keeping what makes the Poconos special. Chris Barrett sat down with Bill recently in a Pocono Perspectives that aired in our March Pocono Mountains magazine. We have the full discussion between the two coming up in just a bit. The Poconos is a year-round destination for millions, with 2,400 square miles of mountains, forests, rivers, and lakes. With iconic family resorts and historic downtowns, it's the perfect getaway. You can always find out more at PoconoMountains.com or watch PTN, the Pocono Television Network, streaming live 24/7. Now back to the episode. Bill Rader is co-owner of Mountain Springs Lake Resort, and his family has shepherded this one-of-a-kind property since 1945. That's 80 years. From its beginnings as an ice harvesting lake to a destination defined by quiet beauty, meaningful traditions, and multi-generation guests, Bill shares an intimate look at the past, present, and future of both the resort and the Poconos itself. Enjoy.
Bill Rader, co-owner of Mountain Springs Lake Resort. Your operation has been a family affair forever. So what was that like?
You know, I would just say from the perspective of growing up, I don't think I could have chosen a better environment to grow up. And what I mean by that is you're always around family. You're in a beautiful natural environment. I mean, you've been around the Poconos. There's a lot of places you could say that about. Our resort's one of them. But the other thing is I think it kind of helped me stay in line a little bit. And let me explain what I mean by that. So number one, if you're in a family business, you start working when you're pretty young. My siblings and I did as well. And it's just because it's part of our lives, right? The business was really almost a member of the family. And we met a lot of great friends there.
That's interesting. A member of the family.
Yeah.
Interesting. Wow.
Yeah. And, you know, when we met a lot of great friends that would come up and visit us year after year. But the most important part was, you know, you've heard the term, it takes a village to raise a kid. Well, I can tell you this, there were times when, you know, we might have been a little bit mischievous. There were always eyes on us and our parents knew what was going on all the time. So we might not have been with them, but, you know, we always stayed between the navigational beacons.
Your property has changed quite a bit over the years. So can you go back to when you grew up there to where it is now? Because you told me a lot of stories when we drove around the property, which are really neat and interesting. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing. You still have I'll let you tell the old charming cabins and like where we're at right now.
Sure. So, I mean, this is our 80th year. So it's been in the family for a long time. Our grandfather and some partners bought it back in 1945, and then he, you know, slowly bought those folks out. We built our first accommodation in 1952. And the reason I mention that is because the way I describe the resort is it's really architecture by decade. So, you know, half a dozen in one decade, maybe a few more in another decade. Next thing you know, you're 80 years in, you've got 40 accommodations. And our most recent accommodations were built in 2019. And we're constantly refurbishing and doing those things. And the reason I think it's important to mention is because we really appeal to a broad base of tastes and what people are looking for to experience when they come up to the Poconos. So if you want a rustic log cabin feel, we've got it. If you want a luxurious suite feel with soaking tubs and things like that, we've got it. And we're not the only place like that up here, but I think it provides a unique experience for folks. 320 acres, 40 accommodations, so it's super low density, plus we have a wedding and event facility. So a lot of people leverage it for that as well.
Just the food service is amazing.
Thank you.
Your group food service. I mean, everything you do there is top notch, and the view is amazing too from your ballroom and your city. Oh, it's amazing. But I wanted to ask you, going back a little bit. So 1945. Before that, your property was used for ice harvesting, right? Correct. Can you talk about that? Because I think that's amazing.
You know, it's something that, you know, we all knew about, but it's when you think about how important that business was. So I'm giving you an example. We're up here at the top of Camelback, Big Pocono State Park. Right below us, right through here, just below this building, is the railroad bed for, I believe it was the Wilkes-Barre and Scranton line. I think it was part of the Lackawanna network. Erie Lackawanna Network. And what they did back in prior to the turn of the last century, they built that rail line. I think it also was used for coal. And they built lakes along that rail line because people didn't have refrigeration back then, so they had ice boxes. So when you think about all the large lakes, ours is one of them, what they would do is those rail lines would go near those lakes, and there were ice houses on our lake, huge. There's really none left up in the Poconos, maybe one or two small ones, but at the turn of the last century, ice harvesting was the 6th largest industry in the United States. It was the 3rd largest export, if you can think about that. In 1900.
Is that right?
Yeah.
In like 1880s, 90s, like in that area.
Our lake was built sometime in the 1880s.
So it was built specifically for ice harvesting. Ice harvesting.
Absolutely.
Wow. And where did the ice go? Did it stay local or did it go to New York?
It went to major cities and beyond New York and Philadelphia, we really don't know, but that's really where the main points were that the ice from our lake went.
And you said it was the 6th largest industry. So at that time, what were the other industries here at that time? Because tourism wouldn't have been.
I mean, there was tourism up here. There were summer houses and things like that. But that was before the days of skiing in the Poconos. So up here, I would think as it was in many of the other towns in America, you had manufacturing of various kinds. We're in the little town of Tannersville. Well, that's named because there was a large tannery here.
Tannery operations.
Yeah.
Wow. Getting back to 1945. So what did you start with in 1945? When your family?
So when they bought it, it was basically a lake and land. So the original parcel was about 450 acres, 76-acre lake. And there was really nothing on it except a couple of barns, and there was a boarding house. That boarding house you now know is the Lodge at Mountain Springs Lake. That's the wedding and event facility. So we added and built out around that. We built our first accommodation in 1952, as I mentioned. And then we built a series of accommodations. I think in the 50s, we had maybe 8 accommodations, and we built several more in the 60s. We acquired another small piece of property that had what we still use for seasonal units. And then we just kept adding those, accommodations over the decades. And thinking back to, say, the late 70s, I think we had 23 units, and now we've got 39.
So I say this with all respect and kind of an honor way, but when guests started to visit in the 40s, is some of it the reasons why they are visiting and what they do almost still the same?
I think the answer is yes, with a slight caveat. And what I mean by that is when you think about the Poconos over, and you've seen the historical photos of the grand old hotels that used to be here and things like that, there aren't many of those left. There used to be a lot of resorts like ours here. Now, if I want to compare ours to other resorts, I need to look at different parts of the country because there just aren't that many left. But when you think about what people came up here for, whether it was relaxation, to get out in nature, things like that, that's always been the foundation of what's brought people here. But the industry's changed. So when I was young, I would say the largest part of the hospitality industry in the Poconos was the honeymoon, were the honeymoon resorts. And I had people, we lived in St. Louis for 21 years. When I would mention I was from the Poconos, in St. Louis, they would say honeymoon capital of the world. So people knew that. And it's now transitioned to other things. We have skiing, we have a lot of outdoor activities. The water parks are a really big deal up here. They bring a lot of people up to the Poconos. So I would just say that foundationally, nature, getting outside, spending time with people you care about, that's always been the story up here. But as people's tastes have evolved and what they're interested in doing evolved, the Poconos has evolved with that.
So you've survived and thrived as a family business, and there's a lot of examples of that up here. But what has been your secret to thrive and survive since the 1945?
I think it's important to think about if you really want to have a business that survives over the long term is you have to identify where your North Star is. Meaning, if you think about what it is that brings people back to your property or brings people back to your business year after year, I think you have to follow what your clients tell you is most important to them. So I would say, and I'll give this credit to our parents who really were the ones that, expanded the resort. And then, my siblings and I, what we've tried to do is never get in the way of that. Listen to your guests, listen to what they say is important to you about the property and what brings them back, and make sure that whatever decisions you make, whether it's capital improvements, how you handle the property, decisions you make as far as how the resort evolves, never strays from what people tell you is most important to them about about that and what brings them back.
Talk about your parents a little bit. What were they like?
They were great. We were very fortunate. Our parents both lived to be almost 100 years old.
Is that right?
Yeah, they were. Yeah, absolutely. So our father was a Second World War vet. Our mom was, 5 years younger than him. They got married in 1951, and that first cabin was built in 1952. Our family had several businesses in the Lehigh Valley prior to that. And it was always our father's dream to spend time at the resort and spend his life there. So he and my mother moved up in 1952, and they never left. As a matter of fact, something I left out about how the family found the place. When my father was about 10 or 12 years old, his dad took he and a buddy fishing up in the Poconos. They stayed at our sister lake, and they saw a big Pocono from Trout Lake. And they decided they're going to hike to the top of the mountain. So when they got back that afternoon, he told his father about this really neat lake he saw. And that's how they found Mountain Springs Lake. And he ended up befriending the guy that owned the property, that had owned the ice company. And then in 1945, that person contacted my grandfather, said he wanted to sell the place. That's how we ended up with it.
So there was a boarding house there that people
was.
stayed at? Was it kind of a resort boarding, or it just was?
The main business was ice. And then they had a dairy farm after that. After the ice houses burned down, as many of them did up here, that industry was gone. So I think, and that's what the prior owner had done. So he just was ready to hand the property off to somebody else.
Your parents themselves, how long did they operate it?
Well, from 1952, and I'd say our father stepped out of the day-to-day sometime around 2005. Yeah.
So he probably saw generations of families.
Absolutely.
Wow.
We still see him. Matter of fact, kids that I played with when I was a child, they're bringing their grandchildren up now.
Wow.
I run into them all the time.
Wow. How does it make you feel? I mean, they're like your family, right?
I have very deep friendships with quite a few of those people because I've known them my whole life. And it's gratifying, and it is rewarding, and it's humbling. And the reason I say it's humbling is because these people have spent some of the most important experiences of their lives, or had those experiences at Mountain Springs Lake. And I would just say, when you see someone bring their children and their grandchildren back to have their own experiences like that, it is incredibly rewarding and humbling, because it's something you want to make sure you protect for people. When I think about what we do at Mountain Springs Lake, one of the things we always try to make sure is that our colleagues, the people that work there, that they have a great experience as well, because people feel that. We just had a family that was here this summer, and they're actually just made reservations for Christmas and New Year's. It was their 68th visit to Mountain Springs Lake. Yeah, crazy.
So they're coming back because of the experience, everything full circle, which that's who you are. So you embody what the hospitality is, which is a little bit different. And I think one of the, we've spoken to so many people who it's so ingrained in their family. You remind me of Woodlock when John Kiesendahl said, I want you to treat people as if they're guests in your own home.
Absolutely.
And we just talked to Ben May and Nick Iglarski, and they said exactly the same thing. And you don't really see that very often now. And there's so much of it up here, which I think we're just so lucky that we have it all in one place. And the thing that you've done for decades, that's not typical. And I think that's why we're successful. I do.
I would agree, and I'll once again turn that credit back to our parents. That's how they raised us. That's what we did. I used to jokingly say, my mom collected friends like some other people find a stray dog and they'll feed the dog. When you walked into our house, you never knew who was going to be at dinner, and there was always enough. That's just how it was. It's how our parents were, and I think that rubbed off on my siblings and I as well.
Tell us about you. What's your background? Because you have a really interesting background too.
Somebody once said to me, everybody has at least one good book in them, and I don't know if I have a good book, but it's a varied background. So, born and raised in the Poconos. I know there aren't all that many people here like that, but I was, born and raised here. Went to Pocono Mountain High School when it was just one high school. And then when I was in my early 30s, I wanted to see what else was out there, so I ended up leaving the resort because I worked there from college on.
Where'd you go to college?
Lycoming College in Williamsport, Pennsylvania.
You majored in?
Business administration.
Okay.
And I had an opportunity to get into financial services and ended up in the asset management business. So in order to do that, we had to move to St. Louis. So We parachute dropped into St. Louis, lived there for 21 years. We lived in New York for a while. So that was a really rewarding career. But, it's funny. I was thinking about this when I was driving up here today. And no matter where I was, I always thought about this area, this place, as what defined natural beauty to me and what it looked like outside. And I think a lot of people could say that no matter where you grew up. I think it helps define that for you. And what I used to say to my wife when we lived, living in New York or wherever we lived, I'll be like, someday I'm going to live in a place where I'm not walking outside my front door and seeing somebody else's front door, and I'm back here to do that again.
I love New York, but coming back from New York, as you get closer to the Poconos, it just gets better and better and better.
Blood pressure goes down. Yeah, absolutely.
Until you get here, and the air's so clean, it's so gorgeous, and like you said, it defines beauty. And your base definition of beauty was different.
Was that? Yeah.
So, do you miss that life, or?
It was super rewarding. I have a lot of friends from that period of our life. We have met great people wherever we lived, but I don't miss the couple 3 flights a week anymore. That's for sure.
So now that you're back, one of the things I think might be interesting to ask is, what changes have you seen in the Poconos from living here, operating the business with your parents, leaving, then coming back? How has it changed for you?
Very simple question. I would say it's not an easy answer. And what I mean by that is, I was gone for 25 years. It still kind of looks the same. There are new buildings here and things like that, but it's a really different place. The hospitality industry has changed quite a bit. People still want to get up here, get outside, breathe in the fresh, clean air, but it's a different place than it was when I left. All of that stated, one of the things that I think is important to note is this. When you think about who visits here, it's people, right? And though people have changed, tastes have changed, there's a lot more people here than there used to be. It's still little kids that want to have fun. They want to spend time with people they care about. It's still families and friends coming up to spend time with people that they care about most. That part is the same. And I think it's really important for us to keep that in mind, because we have to be cognizant of changes. And as people's tastes evolve and things like that, we have to answer those things. We're in the hospitality business. But we also have to remember they're people. And those baseline things should always be what drives our most important decisions.
Sometimes it's really calming is to look at the cameras from your property and see people on the lake. Just like you could kind of tell, not that I'm any better at it at all, but you could just tell when people are starting to learn how to canoe and they look like they're having fun. Yeah. It just gets you to feel like, wow, it just makes you feel good. So I tune into your cameras a lot and look at them because it's fun. And the lakes, it's so beautiful. Like those views are gorgeous from right there. Because I remember the first time I saw it, we got to get a cam in here so people could see it.
Especially that view from the west end of the lake. We're looking at the big Pocono, which I would say is one of the more well-known views of the Poconos.
Is there one particular place that you like above others that you would want to share with the guest?
That's a great question, because I don't have one particular place. I do have a few spots that I tend to find myself going back, or I always have, honestly, even since I was a little kid. And it really has to do with a couple of things. Do I want some quiet private time? Do I want to be with a couple of people that I really care about? Do I want to be with a group of people having a great time? So for me, there's a couple spots. So we have a hiking trail around our lake.
Which is great.
Yep, thank you. It's and there are some really beautiful spots there, whether it's, you're on, looking at the creek that feeds our lake, or, you're there at sunrise, or whatever the case may be, it's beautiful. Also, let's say sunset, if you're on the east end of the lake looking west, it's just, if you get that perfect day where the weather's great, it's tough to beat. And then,
the last few weeks. Oh.
Yeah. True that. Thank you. Yeah. And then also, just get out on the lake. Every one of our units comes with a rowboat. So sometimes my wife and I'll just go out into the middle of the lake in the evening and just float and listen and just absorb what nature gives you. It's just.
So 2 final questions. The first one is, where do you see the Poconos in 10 to 20 years if you had a crystal ball?
We have these conversations from time to time about the area and changes, and I don't know that I can really predict where I see it. I think that the Poconos has done a really good job of absorbing change And wherever that leads us, I think we'll be able to adapt. I don't see the baseline, most important properties really altering fundamentally what they offer to people. Camelback ski resort. People are going to come up here to ski, snowboard, tube, whatever the case may be. I see the water parks being here long term because that's a great way to get away and not have to worry about the weather. But I also see, the economic environment's going to change just like it always has. And I think we'll answer that. There are things happening right now up here that are going to answer some of those calls, whether it's technology or whatever else is changing, transportation.
The thing that's always amazed me, I count you in this group, are owners, managers. They're incredibly innovative and visionary. And the Poconos over decades has been able to reinvent itself. Like you said, when you're in St. Louis, it says, oh, heart-shaped tubs, honeymoon capital. Not that to a degree we still don't have that legacy, but it's completely changed since that time. And I credit that with the visionary look that people like you have brought here, which I think is different from other destinations.
I'm going to go back to something I said a few minutes ago, and that is, I think we all gather thoughts and ideas from our experiences as we travel, because we take vacations too. So we have experiences that we think maybe would be something that our guests would enjoy. But I think the most important thing we can do is listen closely to the client, to the guest, because they're going to tell you if there's something that's new that they'd be looking for, or different, or maybe an evolution of what you offer. We try to reflect that in what we do at Mountain Springs Lake and how we, evolve and refresh.
So Bill, last question. If you could pick one thing not to change in the Poconos, what would that be? And if there's one thing you could pick to change, what would that be?
So what wouldn't I change? I would not change the incredible ability for this area to redefine itself and to stay economically viable while not ruining the incredible natural environment we have. I mean, when you think about that, it's pretty amazing. I mean, we can all name destinations where things are just built right next to each other. That's not the way it is up here. I would keep it that way. And then the other part of that question is, what would you change?
Yes, if you could. What would you change?
If I could.
One thing.
If I could change one thing other than having the opportunity to rewind the videotape and step back 25 or 30 years, I don't know that there's really anything that I would change. And the reason I say that is because the world evolves. And I think as it evolves, you have to be willing to accept that change and embrace that change, or you become irrelevant. So I don't know that there's really anything I wouldn't change about here. The place has evolved in a way that people sought for it to evolve. And the foundational characteristics we have, as long as we keep that as our North Star in the Poconos, I think we'll continue to thrive.
But Bill Rader, co-owner of Mountain Springs Lake Resort, it's just been so great to have you here today. I always learn something. I always learn a lot of good stuff from you. This has not been a disappointment. So folks, you are watching PTN, the Pocono Television Network. This has been Pocono Perspectives. As always, thanks for watching.
Mountain Springs Lake Resort, you can learn more at PoconoMountains.com. Thanks for listening to Pocono Mountains Podcast. We'll have a new episode each week, highlighting lots of the fun things you can experience while you're visiting the Poconos. Subscribe and leave a comment or review on whatever platform you listen. Now you've got the Poconos in the palm of your hand.
For places to stay and shop.
And stories about the Pocono Mountains.
Go to PoconoTelevision.com to download the app and get the information you need for your visit with us.
We're back. Thanks for listening to Pocono Mountains Podcast. I'm Jim Hamill. Now for a Pocono Mountains Podcast Extra. This is a new kind of extra where we're going to showcase from time to time this season a sneak peek at upcoming acts at the Sherman Theater in Stroudsburg. This time, Dogs in a Pile play a two-night set in April, the 10th and the 11th. Should be one of those jam performances the Sherman is well known for, and there are tickets available. Head to ShermanTheater.com. Here's a listen to a recent interview with keyboardist and lead singer Jeremy Kaplan of Dogs in a Pile. Enjoy. Hi, everyone. It's Jim Hamill with Pocono Television Network, and I have the distinct honor and privilege here to spend some time indoors on a Zoom call with my man, Jeremy Kaplan of Dogs in a Pile. You guys are looking forward to coming to the Sherman Theater in April for a two-night stand, man. That's exciting times.
Yeah, we're super stoked. We've been there once before and we had a great time. It's a lovely, lovely room.
Yeah, we definitely love having jam bands at the Sherman. It's kind of a thing that the Sherman's known for and has a great following there too. So April 10th and 11th, you guys are coming on out with the whole set. You got special guests, looks like John Morgan Kimmock on the 10th and the Juggling Sons BE5D project. Tell me what kind of vibe you guys get when you get you know, the openers and then you guys and the crowd gets moving and shaking in that venue there.
I mean, it's always awesome. I really love having support play because you meet incredible people and you hear incredible music. And just one of the best things about the music scene is people bringing just bringing people together. And whether you're a musician or a listener in the crowd, it's of course this wonderful communal experience. And that's I wouldn't trade that for anything.
That's exciting, man. How long you been at it? You said it's been 3 years now you've been out on the tour.
3 years of solid solid touring work. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And you're the guy singing, you're the vocalist, you're the keyboardist. So, what is it about that rigor that really kind of is so demanding on your voice, on your talents and everything, man? Because it's got to be a lot.
Yeah, it definitely is. And certainly at times it can be a grind. You play your gig and you finish up loading out at 1 in the morning, and then you gotta, drive 6 hours to the next gig on the next day. It's intense and it definitely takes a toll, on the body. As things have been going, the logistics have become slightly easier and continue to. So hopefully,
Yeah.
in a few years here, we won't be running ourselves completely ragged.
You've been doing this for a while, though. It looks like way back in the day, you even got to do some theater pit band work at 12. I read in your bio there. So you've been like a performer for a lot of years, and you must have just kind of honed that craft now with the rest of the guys here, Brian, Joey, and Jimmy and Sam there doing all your things on stage, right?
Yeah, definitely. Coming up in like the theater world was definitely a huge boon for me because there's a lot of great, musical and life skills that you learn working in that atmosphere. Just being able to read music and learning so many different styles of music that are represented in the musical theater space. And then beyond that, just I was doing a bunch of bar band gigs and I was in band and several original projects. Just getting around and playing with as many people as you can is it's the way to do it.
That is the way to do it, man. And it sounds like you guys have really kind of uh, gone out in force now to promote the new album. Is it Destroyed? Is that
Yes,
the new
I've
album?
heard it said many ways, and you can say it
Okay.
however you like. It's up for interpretation.
Okay. All right. So it's to each their own on how they want to say that, but also that's got a lot of great tunes on. I was just listening on my way over to the office today. It's something where you guys can really kind of get the whole crowd in the Sherman Theater really vibing in that kind of you know uh, new music, but obviously too, you guys weave in some old ones too.
Yeah, well, once again, one of the most exciting parts about playing music live is that communal atmosphere and the fact that it is a give and take with the people on stage and the people in the crowd. The people in the crowd are just as important as the musicians on stage. They're
Yeah.
feeding us energy, and we are trying to reciprocate that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the Sherman is like the right size too, right? Like tell me about what it feels like in there to have it be as not as cavernous as some, large venues, but it's like also not you have some room to move around and kind of,
Yeah.
boogie a bit.
Yeah, definitely. We were very comfortable on stage there last time, and I do remember it being, dark. You could see the first few rows of people, and then it kind of becomes an expanse,
Yeah.
which is nice because you still feel that there are people close to you, but you might not know exactly how many, how far it goes back, and so there's the question there, but then
Yeah.
there's also the confirmation of the people up front that you can see.
That's cool, man. Well, it's a 2 night deal there, April 10th and 11th. Really looking forward to that. What is it about the Poconos too? I mean, April should be warmer temps and really a cool little vibe down there with an arts community in Stroudsburg, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. It was super welcoming, super welcoming.
That's cool, man. And then you guys have people coming from pretty far to see you guys tour as you do. I mean, I'm sure we'll have people in from New York, New Jersey, Philly, that whole area coming into the Poconos for this.
I certainly know at least New York and New Jersey will be represented. My father's coming down to that show, and he's in New York. I was so sweet. I grew up in New York, and now I'm in Jersey, so at least New York, we're there.
You'll have the representation there too, and we'll roll out the red carpet for you there too. I definitely have been to some shows of late, and really looking forward to yours. Is there anything else you wanted to leave us with here as people, kind of look at their calendars and say, "Hey, I've got the time and I've got the wherewithal. Let's get to a Dogs and File show."
Yeah, I mean, we've got a really great East Coast run coming up here, and we'll we really do get around, so definitely dig into our socials and check out if there are some dates nearby to you.
Awesome, man. Jeremy Kaplan, singer and keyboardist with Dogs in a Pile, coming to the Sherman Theater in April. You can get tickets, shermantheater.com. And we appreciate you coming on here for Pocono Television Network. And we're going to get this out there to the masses so they can come out and have a great time.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Jeremy. Pleasure. The historic Sherman Theater, you can learn more at shermantheater.com. We hope you enjoyed Pocono Mountains podcast. Please remember to subscribe anywhere podcasts are available. Come visit us in the Pocono Mountains. Plan your trip today.